Bloodhook casts you into the heart of the world-famous Musky Madness fishing contest.
It's him! It's him! He's doing it! Oh!
Its various contestants.
We're all like time bombs waiting to go off! Boom!
And the one fisherman who's the most unique fisherman of them all. The master fisherman. This master caster will teach you all the angles. He'll reveal his prize-winning methods for selecting and preparing his own bait. Yes, fellow anglers, this is your chance to learn the art of planting your hook and riding in your catch. So come on down and join the master at this most delightful pastime. Bloodhook, where the catch of the day is you. See, Bloodhook, fishing was never like this.
Hey everyone, Summerhill Cinema 700 here with a movie-Blu-ray review on the 1986 film Bloodhook. I got this Blu-ray a few years ago and just came around to finally watching it today for the first time. And it was pretty bad, I gotta say. I definitely expected a lot more from this film. It's a slasher film, but it's more of a comedy. I'll say that before I get onto this. If you look at this as a slasher film or as just a horror movie, not good at all in my opinion. But if you look at it as a comedy, then it kind of stands up a little bit higher. But yeah, Bloodhook, 1986. Where to start? I'll read the back and the plot here. 17 years ago, Peter's grandfather went missing under mysterious circumstances. Now Peter and his friends have returned to the placid Wisconsin town to check out his inherited lake house and to partake in the annual Musky Madness fishing competition. Soon after his arrival, Peter begins to sense that something isn't quite right, but none of his friends, nor the local sheriff, will believe him. But as townfolk and tourists begin to disappear, Peter becomes determined to solve the mystery, as well as that of his grandfather's disappearance, and soon finds himself facing off against a fishhook-wielding madman. Yeah, so just right into the plot of this film. We start out, we see him as a kid, this main character, I guess his name is Peter or something. We see him, and he's at this really nice scene, actually, on this really nice-looking lake. And his grandfather's fishing down on the dock. He's up kind of like this cabin right by the water, and he comes down on like this, I'm assuming it's like a boat launch thing. It's like this, it goes down on almost like this conveyor belt type thing. Kid comes down on that, and he's watching his grandpa fish, and while he ends up falling into the water, you see like a lure hit his face or something, and he gets pulled into the water, and that was the end of that. And then we flash forward 17 years later to the present day, 1986, and as you see all these friends together, they're going to this town, they're going to hang out there, and again go see this place that he's inherited. And basically from there they wind up at the place, and there's like this crazy Vietnam vet guy sitting on the property. He's like having like flashbacks of like Agent Orange and stuff. And then this other old guy shows up who's like really pissed off and angry at everything. And shortly after that, we meet this family that's also, I guess, in town for this. Again, like there's this big fishing competition, this big fishing derby for muskie going on. And then we see this family arrive, and they go to this little shop to like buy some fishing bait. It's like a mom, a dad, and a couple kids, and they're really weird people. But they go to this place to buy some bait, and the guy working there is like this really weird guy. And at first I thought, okay, he's got to be the killer. And we'll get more into that later. And then we see that family, right? So we go back and forth from the friends to the family. And it's funny also, this group of friends that I'm mentioning, I can't remember how many there are. I think there's 3 guys and two girls in the group. One of the guys, it's funny too, he has an earring and it's a fish hook. It's like a lure. A fishing lure is his earring. It's so stupid, but... So the mom of this other, we have the friends, and then we have this weird family. The weird family, the mom ends up going out on a dock and getting lured out on a fishing line. And then shortly later, the guy who has the fishing lure earring also goes out on a boat by himself and gets fished out. You just see, a lure hit his face, and then he gets dragged off into the water. And it sounds like, okay, that could be creepy, but the way it's done is just not very scary at all. of course, people start worrying that and I have some notes here that I'm following. The friends start to worry, that something's going on because all of a sudden, all their friends are going missing, especially this main guy, Peter, and his girlfriend. They're like kind of worried. They suspect it's the Vietnam guy too because he's acting really strange throughout this film, but it ends up, nope, it's not him. And they figured it was him because, he's always waving this M16 around, but it ended up being just a piece of wood. In the group of friends too, there's also this one of the girls. She's like just constantly talking and super annoying, and she goes and lays in this like little raft while the other people are out in town or something, and she ends up getting, the guy tries. You see a fishing line try to catch her, and it misses. Well, it hits her at first, and she starts bleeding, and then it misses, and then she runs off, and then he comes back, and he's trying to basically fish for her. Well, she ends up getting away. So basically slowly everybody's getting picked off by this crazy fish rod wielding madman, whoever the hell it is, and. How I mentioned too how that family showed up. The dad, who's like always pissed off and annoyed at everything, he gets hooked as well. He's out on a boat. He's trying to start it. It's not starting properly. And he gets hit by the fishing lure. And this is the first kill in the film that's actually pretty gory. It's like, I think it hits him in the stomach and there's like blood squirting everywhere. It was a pretty decent special effect. But this is like over an hour into the film, we finally get our first like decent, kill. And this is supposed to be a slasher film, right? Again, I should mention this is a trauma film as well. So, a lot of their films are kind of lower, like there's B movies, and then these are like C movies. No insult to trauma too, a lot of their stuff is great. Toxic Avenger, I really am a big fan of. Combat Shock, but, their movies are typically known as pretty B-ish B movies. But this was pretty bad. But again, so this guy gets hooked, and we also meet this other, all the friends are hanging out. This one of the friends, he's kind of the only one that seems really actually interested in fishing. He meets this lady who I guess she's working at the fishing derby, but she's also she lives in the woods there, and she's running around. She's always working out and stuff, and he ends up kind of falling in love with her. She has a kid and stuff though, and then there's a scene where she's swimming and she gets hooked, and she gets dragged out to the water. We don't really see what ends up happening to her though, and so. The main character, Peter, right, he's starting to really get suspicious at this point. He's like, okay, our friends haven't come back yet. What's going on? Where are they? And then the guy who I was talking about earlier, who meets this girl who's kind of into fitness. She's always running around, jogging. He gets pissed off because he goes over to her place. He's supposed to go over there and meet with her, but the Vietnam vet guy is over there messing around with her, so he gets really pissed off and goes and gets drunk and drives out on the boat. And he ends up going out and playing this super loud. He's blasting his his boombox out on the lake on his boat. He's drunk, he's pissed off, and he ends up, you hear this music, and then we see the guy working in the bait shop, the crazy bait seller guy, and he's listening to the music, and he's freaking out. He's like, ah! He's having a panic attack. And anyways, we see him, and he goes out there, and he casts his rod out and catches the fucking guy, pulls him in. And we're like, okay, we now know who the killer is. I kind of suspected that all along. I knew it was either him or the other old guy, who I said was hanging around Jake's property that he inherited with the Vietnam vet guy. So there's two old guys in the film, right? The one working at the bait shop, and then this other guy. And it ends up the other guy knew him, and they were both pals in the war. I think they fought in the Korean War. But anyways, this particular scene where he catches this guy, one of Peter's friends. Is actually a pretty gory scene. It looks pretty fake. You can tell it's a rubber face mold or whatever, but he sticks the gaff hook under the guy's chin, and you get this scene where it comes out of the mouth, and then he pulls a rope through. And that scene's pretty cool. It's pretty gross to watch, but you can tell it's a rubber suit. But that part was pretty good. That was probably the best part of this movie, was that effect. That was their best effort at practical effects. Finally, that girl who I mentioned before, who was kind of annoying, who just kept talking nonstop, she goes out on her little raft and he tries to catch her. Well, we find out she survived, so she comes back, and then we see the scene too where the guy working at the fishing bait shop, he has all these bodies under the dock, I guess, that he's storing, and they look pretty fake. You can definitely tell they're rubberized, And I'm a big fan of practical effects. There's so many movies that have great practical effects. I just watched The Burning the other day, right? And if you look at a movie like that compared to this, it's just night and day. That is just a classic. practical effects still hold up to this day. I'm actually going to do a video soon talking about slasher movies and that are, that turned 40 this year, because there are so many great slashers in 81. We're going to talk about that. But anyways, but again, yeah, like a movie like The Burning, if you watch that, if you want to watch a great slasher film, watch a movie like that. If you're, you can probably let this one pass by. You're not missing too much. But anyway, so again, yeah, we see all these bodies under the guy's dock, and there's some pretty funny humor in this film. Like there's this one scene where the Vietnam guy's like talking about like all his friends that fought in the war, and he says this thing, I wrote it down, he's like, I knew this guy once, he had a steel pelvis, and every time a train would go by, he'd get a hard on. So I thought that was really funny. There's some pretty funny humor in this movie, but again, as a slasher, as a horror movie, not as much. And so at this point, out of the 4 friends, 2 of them are dead, the 2 annoying ones, thankfully. Or no, just the one annoying guy, actually, the guy with the fishing lure earring. The other guy was kind of a nice guy. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that he died, actually. The annoying chick is still alive. And then the main guy, Peter, whose grandpa died at the start, is still alive. And his girlfriend, who's just a nice character. And his girlfriend, too, Peter, the main guy in the movie, his girlfriend, she's always meditating and stuff. So there's a scene where she's meditating at the dock, and he ends up coming and trying to attack her, this crazy bait seller fisherman. He casts her and I guess catches her, brings her back to his shack. So yeah, he lives, he has this little bait place, like where I told you where that family showed up at the start of the movie. It's a little shack where he sells his bait, little like fishing shack, right? Gets her back there. She's trying to like talk him out of it. She's like, look, I know you don't need to do this. And then he like puts her in the fridge, and she's just kind of like, doesn't seem too concerned about it. Maybe she's just in a panic or whatever. But, the other guy who was in this film, who I mentioned, the guy who's really pissed off, the other angry old guy who I thought might be the killer, he ends up, it's so ridiculous. It's like the main guy, Peter, he's like, look, well, I know this guy's been killing my friends. He's trying to convince the police too, and the police of the town, they just don't believe it. They're like, we don't want to cause any panic. There's this big fishing derby going on, and we don't want the townspeople to worry about that. We just want them to, go on their fishing derby. He doesn't give a shit that people are dying. Well, he does seem like he cares a bit, but not enough that he's really going to take, put extra effort into finding the people. But anyways, it's so ridiculous. It's like the grand finale of this film. It's like the guy, main character, Peter, he's like, all right, you need to teach me how to cast properly, because I'm going to do this the right way. I'm going to fish him. So basically the ending of the movie is him learning how to cast the rod properly so he can get his revenge and go and fish this guy, I guess, catch him. And it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I guess he teaches him how to do that. And then there's this final battle where he goes over to the guy's shack. He rows over in this boat, and he starts blasting this music. And the whole plot behind this movie is like, this guy who was a Korean war vet, somehow the frequencies from the radio, when they turn them on and they play their music, gets him so freaked out that he just starts killing people. It's so stupid, the plot. And so he goes and he blasts this music. He's sitting on his little boat. And then he comes out, of course, and he's like, freaking out, the music. And he gets his fishing rod, and it's just like this battle. Like, they're casting their rods at each other. And it's just like, kill me now. And just like, I've seen some bad movies, but this might top them all. Fuck. So you have this final battle, fishing rod, tournament, face off, and that's pretty much it. The movie ends after that. They catch him, he gets taken away from the cop by the police, and in the ending, it's just really weird. You just see the scene of the water, and then you hear the guy like kind of freaking out. You don't see him. It's just really weird. That's how the movie basically ends. And you're just like, what the fuck did I just watch? And it's, this movie's almost 2 hours. It's like 1 hour and 50 minutes. I think that the original cut might have been shorter, but this is like the extended cut or something. I could be wrong. I don't know. But anyways, it's almost 2 hours long, right? 111 minutes long. This movie definitely could have been a lot shorter, like maybe 1 hour and a half at most. It could probably be like 1 hour and 15 minutes or something. It was just so bizarre. Such a bizarre, odd movie. I don't even know what to think about it. There was some stuff that I did like it. There was a little bit of nudity. There was one scene where the main guy, Peter, his girlfriend. We see like a side shot of her topless, which is nice. But, you know, besides that, there's no other nudity in the film. I mean, just what a bizarre movie. What a bizarre plot for the film. Things that I did like. I wrote them down somewhere here. The setting was really nice, right, in the lake. Very nice. Good time to watch this movie right now. Summertime. It has that summertime feel to it. You know, that lakeside town kind of feeling, which is really nice. And really, where they shot this, it was a very nice location. I think it was in Wisconsin, I said. The music was cool, too. There was a lot of, like, tubular bells type of sounds, which you might recognize. Maybe I'll play a couple of those. I have a synthesizer that can create those sounds perfectly. I'll play that after. So it relied a lot on that kind of tubular bell sound, which is really good. It has a nice, very atmospheric. So the music was good. A couple decent gore scenes, like when the guy gets hooked in the stomach and then the gaff hook through the neck. That was pretty cool. And it's funny. It's a funny movie. If you look at it, again, more as a comedy, then you might appreciate it more than a horror or a slasher. But yeah, the acting, the people that were acting in it, really bad acting. The old guys did a better job, like the two older guys that were friends. And just the story and the plot was just like, what the hell? So I guess, you know, the guy's grandpa, the whole story behind him dying was he got fished by this guy because the radio frequencies disrupted his brain. Oh, for God's sake. I mean, the thing is when you've watched as many 80s slasher films as I have, it's like there are so many that are great. And then you come across one like this and it's just like, it's unfortunate, but I still would probably rather watch a film like this than I would any of the, superhero movies coming out today, like Avengers Endgame or any shit like that, which I think are just garbage movies. I'd probably, still watch this over that. So, horrible movie, but I feel bad saying that, but, it was entertaining at times. I liked the setting, the music was kind of cool, but there's just, when it comes to 80s slasher films, there are just so many that are way better than this. Even like really low budget ones like, Slaughterhouse. Where is it? Slaughterhouse. Or something like The Mutilator. There's tons. Go check out my video that I did of my 80s slasher collection if you want to see some good 80s slashers. But I mean, this movie makes Sleepaway Camp 2 and Sleepaway Camp 3 look like Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, that's how bad this movie is. We're talking like, but anyways, I'm not going to just go on and on about how much I dislike this movie because there were, again, like I said, there were things that were entertaining about it, and I don't want to insult anyone that's a fan of this film because I know that it has its fans. But and anyways, onto the Blu-ray though. If you're a fan of this film, you'll definitely like this Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. It's got a lot of special features. It's a newly scanned and restored in 2K from 16mm original camera negative. You get some other features. You get our hook, line, and sinker, an interview with the director, Jim Mallon, first blood hook, an interview with actress Lisa Todd. And I watched that, and she seemed like a really nice lady. And she said that it was really fun when they were filming this, and everybody on set was really nice. So that was nice to hear. And she said, yeah, it was just a good time. And it definitely, I could see where, being in a film like this would be a lot of fun. You get What's in the Tackle Box, an interview with effects artist Jim Suthers, audio interview with cinematographer and editor Marcia Cam, still gallery, original theatrical trailer, reversible cover, and English SDH subtitles. So yeah, the picture quality on this looked really good. I haven't seen it in any other format because this is my first time watching it, but it looked really good. And with Vinegar Syndrome, it's nice because you always get a Blu-ray and a DVD copy, as you can see. And actually, the original artwork, too, for this, which I'll show here, I actually really like the original artwork. The original, that artwork there. It's kind of cool. What does it say? You can't worm your way out. That's a cool poster. I like that. There's a summertime vibe to it. Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers present a Trauma team release. But again, even when it comes to trauma films, there's a lot better trauma films. But I'm pretty much shitting on this film. It was, like I said, it had its moments. But overall, while I was watching it, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'll watch this one again. But let me know what you guys think of Bloodhook. Are you a fan of this film? If so, I recommend going to a mental institute. But, of course, I'm kidding. But, no, let me know if you're a fan of this film. And if you have this Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. Again, I don't know if this is one that I'd watch again. Maybe, I'm glad I watched it now when I did, because, I'm in that summertime mood right now. But, I'd rather be watching Friday the 13th or The Burning or Sleepaway Camp or, any of the other great 80s slashers. There's a lot of great summer camps, that have these kind of settings. Madman is another one that's good. Like I said, The Mutilator, that's not summer camp. But, oh man, Slayer, Just Before Dawn. Go watch my slasher video if you want to see them all. I could sit here for ages talking about it. But again, let me know what you think of this movie. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll show you guys quickly on the synthesizer, kind of the sounds that they were using though for the soundtrack, which I thought was really cool. So let's go check that out quickly. Alright, so just for fun, if you made it to this far into the video without jumping out of a building, I thought that I would do this little clip here showing what they were most likely using in the soundtrack, because like I mentioned, the soundtrack of this film was one of the few things that I liked about it. And I'm assuming that they probably used a Yamaha DX7 synthesizer for the soundtrack, which was a synthesizer that was used on countless songs as well as movie soundtracks throughout the 80s. It was an early digital synthesizer. It was an FM synthesizer is what it was called. It was a new technology at the time. And it had a lot of great sounds that were built into it, preset sounds. And one of them was the tubular bell sound, which you would hear in like the music from Top Gun, as well as it used to be on the old Taco Bell commercials. But the tubular bell sound was just used on a lot of different things. Also things like the soundtrack for The Exterminator 2. So I'm guessing that's most likely what they used as a soundtrack in this film. So just to give you an idea of what it sounds like, I have my Yamaha Reface DX here, which is like a modern version, or basically, replicating that type of synthesizer. It's an FM synthesizer, but it's got a tubular bell sound here, which is very similar to the sound of the DX7, if not identical. So this is what it sounds like here. I'll play a couple of notes. And that's most likely what they're using for the soundtrack. I really like when soundtracks incorporate that type of sound, that tubular bell sound. It just has a very atmospheric feel to it. So I thought you guys might enjoy that. Thank you again for watching my review of 1986's Bloodhook. Again, let me know what you think of this film, and we'll see you on the next video. Until then, take care, everyone.